This is Wilson Morales from Black Film and TV talking to the cast and crew of First Date, which is premiering at Sundance. So let's start off, Brandon and Manuel, as far as how this film came about. Who wrote the story and how to go from writing the story and incorporating segments of other films we've seen in the past that we won't name, but if you're old enough, you'll get it.
Yeah. So my friend Darren and I were having breakfast one day at his place in Valley Springs, which is where the movie takes place and where we both grew up as well. And I was having car problems with my used car, and I was just kind of complaining about how, when you buy a used car, nobody really, you never really know where it came from, who had it before you, how they treated it, regardless of what they say when they sell it to you. And that sparked the idea, what if this high school kid, was buying his first car and, wanted to take his crush out on a date, but the car he bought was just super sketchy and had a whole crazy backstory behind it. And so we started throwing ideas back and forth, and characters were kind of coming out in like little situations, and by the end of that breakfast, we had the entire outline of the story, and we just took a little time, fleshed it out. Within 24 hours, it was like basically what you see in the movie. And we were just like, oh my gosh, that never happens when you're writing something, So we have to make this one, and we haven't been wanting to make a feature film in that area for a while. And so that's what we did. And then we teamed up with Brandon, so I'll let him explain that part.
Yeah, so Manuel's extremely talented, and I actually first saw one of his completed pieces of work. Well, actually, he shot, from an actor standpoint, he had shot some stuff with me for fun, some little short film stuff. But when I first saw his original piece, Dead Man's Locket, which won a short film award in Sacramento,
That's good.
I was like, wow, this guy is really talented. He can execute with a tight budget. He has friends and he has passion, and he knows how to bring things to life on screen. So I was like, look, I want to help him if I can with this feature film goal that he has. And I have a strong background in investments and finance and business. And I said, okay, let's do this. I love your idea. The script is awesome. I know that you have a lot of passion, that you're going to finish this project. You'll see it through. And that's what I look for in teammates and partners for business. And so from a business standpoint, I just knew, let's go for this. Let's send it. Let's really do it. And then, I got to play the part as Chet as an actor, and that was just really fun. A great way to be, a vulnerable jock, which I kind of relate to in real life. A lot of people's, perception of me is this guy, that works out or whatever, is kind of a jock, but I still got the vulnerability underneath. And so I just appreciated that part. And I'm glad that he was able to, cast me as that part. And so, yeah, it was just amazing working with him and Darren in the process.
Let's talk about the casting. Obviously, you've got Tyson, you've got Shelby, for each of them, it's their first big role, what went into your casting process before you brought them along?
Well, Darren and I, we knew we wanted to cast we wanted to cast locally, in our greater Northern California kind of region, based on the shooting schedule. It would just kind of make things fit together easier. And we knew, having made some shorts and things, there were so many talented people in the area we wanted to collaborate with. And so we put out a casting call. We started getting video submissions, and they each sent in their video auditions. And it's kind of like there's something that happens in the first couple of seconds when you watch one, if it's like there's like that spark, or that little character trait. And that happened with both of them. It was really funny, actually, with Tyson. He was apologizing because he had never done a video audition before. And so before he even got into the dialogue, I was like, oh, that's the kid. And Darren agreed. And so we met with both of them, did some readings in person. And then we set up a little scene at Darren's house, the scene where they talk on the phone, and then the scene where they talk sitting in the car one night. And the chemistry was just instant as we were shooting it. We just knew that they were the right fit. So that's
Right?
how we
Like, take it from there. Talk to me about your audition. Why did you go out for this film, and how did you feel when you got this role and you're number one on the call sheet?
I was very excited and very nervous. Before I did First Date, I was like fresh into acting, of course, and so like the rule I learned was like, oh, you got to do extra work, like be an extra and stuff. And so I did 2 other projects where I was an extra, and I just didn't like it. I was like, I'd rather like have some random friend or some random person come up to me like, yo, I'm just trying to film this thing. Like, you want to act? Like, do you actually want to like say some lines and stuff? That's what I was really interested in, was performing. And so I was really excited that this came my way. And yeah, like you said in the video audition, I had no clue what I was really doing. I was just like, here we go. I guess this is something I got for you guys. I hope it's good. If not, let me know as well. But other than that, it was just a great challenge out there, like right out the gate for acting for me. And I really enjoyed the entire process and like grew a lot from it, like as an actor and just as a person in life. And yeah, it was great, man.
Shelby, you're not only acting, but you're definitely displaying some athletic skills. Was that part of the script, or is this something you got to work on?
No, yeah, it was there. And I was like, I'm a little athletic, but I have no experience in like boxing or fighting, anything like that. But I was like, I'm gonna just take a shot at it. So my video audition, I don't know what Manuel's seen, but thankfully he's seen something in me. But it was pretty bad. I was airboxing. The form wasn't there, but definitely with some training and some help from, people, I was able to execute what I did, in the end. But yeah, I don't have any kind of background in that. But I was like, I can learn. I'll learn it.
Now, there are a lot of people in this movie, and that's not always easy to do for an indie film, because you always got to work with budget and and so forth. How did you work on this script and basically coming up with lines for everybody so that they can make their mark and come in and out, but still make sure your story is still centered on these two?
Yeah. So that was a big challenge, but that was also one of the big exciting reasons to make the movie that got us stoked about it at all. But, having that story with these overlapping characters where you're not really sure how they all connect in the beginning, and they each have their own little side stories that maybe you only see a little bit of, right? And so we wrote it without thinking about the logistics of that. And I remember when Brandon read it, he was like, can you cut some of these characters out? Can you do something? This is like not, this is not producible. But again, we had so many very talented friends in the area who we already knew, a few that we had, really wanted to be in the movie to begin with. For example, Ryan Adams, who plays Vince, Nicole Berry, who plays Sergeant Davis, and Dave Reimer, who plays Shannon. We were really close with them and knew we wanted them in the film. But then the others, we, just searched and took auditions and did, just saw which kind of cast of characters fit together the best. And then it was just a matter of, in terms of giving them, dialogue and things, we just wanted to make sure that they all had an inner life of their own. Any character who came in, we didn't want it to really be like, oh, just, they're not that important, they can just stand there. We wanted them all to have their own stuff going on, their own stuff that they were worried about for themselves, and to just make them interesting enough that hopefully, even if they're just in it for a scene or a couple scenes, when their scenes are over, you like want one more scene with them, because that's what so many of our favorite movies, especially kind of from the eras we were referencing, would do so well. And we just wanted to tell one more story like that.
Brandon, you're the overseer, or at least one of them. It's your job to say, okay, one too many, cut this scene in a way, or so forth. I'm a little old enough to recognize some of the movies you have in there. Was that part of the gimmick in a way, or is that something that just came across in the storytelling and you guys knew like, oh, this feels familiar like this?
So, wait, can you repeat the question just a little bit?
I guess the question is, because I know I went 2 ways with that, is that you're the producer who you have to be the one that says, as as you know, as you saw, there were either too many people in the movie, and I'm sure there has to be edits. But at the same time, as you're showing scenes that reflect other movies that people may think about it, was this what came first, the people or the scene?
Yeah, so I mean, in the writing, Manuel and Darren really had, by the time I came on, they really had a strong idea of what the script was and where it was going to be, the characters, like Manuel said. And so, this being our first movie we've ever made, it's a daunting task to have so much, not only just so many characters, but so much action, right? There are so many action sequences and a lot of risk involved when you have so much going on, and a lot more risk is introduced when you have so many characters. Like, one of the most difficult things that Manuel had to overcome, and myself, was just scheduling, getting people's personal schedules to work in with each other. And so a big thank you to all of the cast and crew for working with their professional schedules and making it happen, because we truly couldn't have done it without them. They were super flexible and working with us. I mean, if you look at the climactic scene at the end, we have like 15, 20 different cast in that scene. And so, pulling it off, I think what we did to pull it off, honestly, was just one day at a time. Let's just keep going. What can we control? What can we do every day? And we just continue to pull it off little by little. And that's truly the project. The way it worked was, we didn't even have the money to start the movie, but we just started, and we just took it day by day. And with everybody giving it their all, Manuel, Darren, the cast and the crew, that's how we were able to pull it off. And, at the end, we didn't have to sacrifice really anything. We didn't have to cut anybody. We didn't have to cut any scenes. We just pulled it off day by day,
Mhm. What has to sell this movie is the chemistry between Tyson and Shelby, and it's not your typical boy meets girl, boy gets girl, loses girl, gets the girl again, or vice versa. So between Shelby and Tyson, how did you guys work in establishing that chemistry so that we, the audience, can buy that these people can get together and we'll buy into that? Shelby?
Well, Tyson is a very big goofball. He's really fun. He's funny. And so for me, that's like an instant icebreaker. So when we even did our chemistry read, he was super just friendly, made me feel comfortable. And then just filming, all the different days we were together a lot. So long days, and we would just have fun when we weren't, filming, and we were just waiting for the set to change or whatever, we always just made it fun, I feel like. And sometimes we would drive to set together. So we also would talk then just about like life and stuff. And I think also like going to set together some days, if we would come to set together, like we'd already be talking, warmed up, and it would just be like easier. So we were lucky that we got to do that. But yeah, Tyson's just he's really easy to work with. So that made it easy for me. My first kind of like movie where I had to have chemistry with somebody that I didn't really know, made it very easy.
Tyson?
Yeah, pretty much what Shelby said. And I was always asking her for advice. And I was like, after we like shoot a scene or take, like, hey, was that good? Or did I stop acting or not? But yeah, I was always asking for advice, and yeah, just spending a lot of time with her on and off set just definitely helped. It like made a lot of scenes easy to shoot. Yeah, it was like really natural. I never really felt forced to like bring out certain emotions or anything like that.
Yeah.
Manuel, as I mentioned before, obviously this film in a way pays homage to a bunch of films. Was there anything in particular you were looking to throw in there, like in a way? Films you think of, or just you don't
so many things, and it's kind of like this weird amalgamation and blend of them all. I bring up Pulp Fiction a lot, not to say that we're comparable to one of the greatest movies ever made, but just in the way that it incorporates interesting characters where you're not sure how they connect, and brings them together in interesting, unexpected ways. And it feels like a roller coaster ride, even though it, doesn't have a lot of special effects or anything like that. That was definitely a touchstone. You have kind of this high school oddity of Brick by Ryan Johnson. Just this weird, almost like an alternate universe or fantasy take on the real world. So many things by the Coen brothers in terms of just the overall tone and feel of the piece. And there are even there are so many other references in there. Star Wars, Indiana Jones, THX 1138. There's a National Treasure reference. So it was just fun for me and Darren as movie fans to just get to throw in stuff that we genuinely love while kind of telling this new story.
Because it's the two of you, comedy's not easy to write. You got to know what's going to land and what's not. Every scene you're putting it together. How did you find the balance between not just the comedy but the dramatic aspects of that as well, and then tying it all together so it can have that satisfactory ending?
So that was always on our minds, and I think the key for us was one, making sure that the characters were always taking the situation seriously, even if it was funny to us, because the second they start winking at the camera, you kind of lose it. So we just wanted them to stay in it, and our actors did a great job with that. The second thing was, again, like a lot of those movies that I just mentioned, walk that line really well, where they'll have hilarious things in them, but then also really serious stuff too, like moments of darkness that kind of bring you down, like, whoa, what's going on, or suspense where you're leaning in, and I personally feel like suspense is a useful tool in any movie genre to keep things interesting. And then additionally, we leaned on our actors as well, because some of them really enjoyed improvisation. Scott Noble in particular, who plays Dennis, I mean, half the things out of his mouth, 3/4 of the things out of his mouth, he just made up just to make us laugh on the set, and it worked, and it stayed in the movie. So it was kind of like, we had a tightly written script where pieces needed to lock together, but we also stayed loose to allow the actors to live in those moments. And they all kind of were so enjoying being in the movie that some of that energy came out as well in some of the comedy, I think. So.
And for Shelby and Tyson, this is your first big role. You have a lot to do. You have a lot to display. How does it feel like, when you're been going out for roles and you get this project, and right off the bat, rather than being a team player, supporting role, you're right in front and center. What did you take away from doing this movie that you'll take on to your next project?
I when I first got this role, I think it didn't even register like I'm one of the lead people. So for me, when I would show up to set, I just feel like everybody around us, like Manuel kind of said, everybody wanted to be there. Everybody really was there to have a good time, and it was like I feel like everybody had a big role. So for me, I just feel like it was just it was another character that I just got to portray, and that I was excited to portray. Kelsey, she was fun to play. So for me, I still, even today, I'm like, I still don't really register that I have a big role, but I think there's so much stuff I learned when I filmed this movie that I can take with me onto the next one. But definitely giving variety in each take that you do. Manuel was super good about being, and this being one of my biggest roles in movies, I was just kind of like, I wasn't that experienced. So Manuel did a great job of saying, hey, try it this way, or, do this, look this way, try that. And that always helped me a lot. So bringing more variety is something that definitely I will take with me moving forward that I can use.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's not enough time, but I just want to say congratulations to Brandon for getting this into Sundance, to Manuel to get into the Sundance. As far as you two actors and the rest of the cast, it's not always easy, but you have that Sundance moniker that people will get to see it because people are looking to see new films, new discoveries. I think this may be it, so whatever you do next, but let's get this film off the ground, get it picked up so that way a lot more people can see it. And I'll be looking forward to each one of you's next projects.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wilson. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
All right.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye.